Hello, and welcome to the D Hope podcast, where we are having raw, uncut, unfiltered conversations about addiction and recovery and the many pathways to recovery. And today we are speaking with Miss Vickie Moseley, who happens to be the mother of my lovely co host, Hope Wilson. So, welcome.
Hello.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Yes, thank you. We appreciate you for being on with us. And just want to start with how addiction has affected your life, like dealing with family members that have dealt with substance use disorder.
Um, well, like me growing up, I've never really experienced addiction. No one my parents never did that. My siblings never, used or myself. So I really didn't understand it until, like I went through it through a divorce and with alcohol and drugs, and it breaks down your families, tears your families apart. So that was my first experience. And then I experienced it with my son, Dexter. And then later on in years with Hope, my little angel.
Yes. So did the divorce come about because of the addiction?
Well, yes, because being an alcoholic and using with drugs, you did things that I guess you wouldn't normally do in a marriage.
Right.
So, yes, that caused split ups.
Okay. And like what has been the hardest part for you with dealing with your children's addiction?
Um, I guess one of the main things is I guess because I was just in denial of it. Um, you know, I could I could see Dex um, messing up and doing. He started at 15 with some issues, but I never would have ever thought that Hope would have went through what she has went through, and that's really. That was really hard for me, more so than I think with Dex. It was with Hope, and then having to with my grandkids. That that was really hard on both sides. My two
Mhm.
that I have in West Virginia, Dex's, and then with Hope and Eric's three.
Yes. So with Dexter at 15, was he did he have like any behavioral things that
It
helped
did
that made you notice that something was going on?
well. Dex was always searching for things that he didn't get. I don't really want to bring all this out here, but he was just he got into some trouble with marijuana, and that was that's what started it, and then it just progressed and
Yes.
got worse the
Yeah.
older he got.
So that's
But
kind of how you found out that there was something going on, is that he got in some like a
yes, like I
trouble.
remember it at school. I was called to school, and that's where it first started,
Right.
and it was mild, but that's where it started, and then it continues to get worse when his dad got him and he moved to Wetumpka, and it just wasn't mine or his daddy's. I don't know. I guess it's everybody's fault. You do
Well,
things, they do things. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that. I mean,
yeah, and
maybe
it's
we done what we knew. I know that I did everything that I could do, but
yeah,
as a parent that wasn't brought up in addiction, you really don't know how to handle it. So maybe I
right.
didn't do all the right things because I didn't know.
Yeah, we can't do like what we don't know, we can't, we can't do anything about what we don't know. And what we don't know
But
is
I have
happening.
read, I have since Hope's, well, I mean, I have since Dex tried to learn more about it, but really since Hope's been involved, I
Mhm.
really started because she would always say, Mama, you just don't understand. You not, you never been an addict. You don't
Mhm.
know any, you just don't understand how we feel. And I really don't, even to this day. I try to, but I just don't understand what makes you drink till you drunk or do drugs till you high. And I mean, you out of it. I don't understand that because I've never dealt with it. So that would be why I don't understand it because I hadn't actually lived it.
Right.
But I have tried to read what I was trying to say. I've tried to read and understand what I can do to be a better parent, to understand them. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And to my grandkids.
Yeah. And there's a good bit of literature out there. One and I can tell you some of them after this that you can read to help you to understand them. But like the with a person dealing with an addiction, like it's not something whenever there's I would say 100% of the time that there is some form of trauma attached to addiction. And when a lot of times when people think of a traumatic experience, they don't necessarily think of things like maybe parents divorcing. Like that can be a traumatic experience for everybody
Right, and
involved.
I
Um
do understand that, but
yeah,
as I said, I didn't never experience that with myself because my parents was married for 60
right.
years,
Yeah.
so I didn't
Yeah.
understand that, but
That yeah.
I just
And
made some
then
bad choices in men.
and
But
that like
Wait, hold on. Did we
rather
just get that on tape, on recorder? Yeah,
and
I second
and
that.
and a lot of times we don't know, like things in however we're choosing, or sometimes you might have been getting chosen, and just was going along with who was choosing,
Mhm.
and sometimes
Yeah.
we can look at it there are several different reasons why we get involved in the things that we get involved in, or why we get involved in the type of relationships that we get involved in. And a lot of times that takes us having to do some, like some looking within, too. But it's not to say like sometimes I would sit with people and they would say, well, I don't want to blame anybody. And I'm like, you're not blaming. And like it's not blaming when you look at facts. And sometimes facts can be based on a person's perception. So facts can still be subjective.
Mm,
They're not always, it's like there's a difference between what's truth and what's fact.
mhm.
Right.
And so like because of that element of I may see it from a different perspective than you.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't change that some of the facts are the same. It's just I'm seeing it a little bit different. And so like that's how it is with
That's good.
dealing with addiction,
Mhm.
someone in addiction too. When you've never been on that side of it, it can be difficult to understand, because a lot of times we may think it has to do with how much they love us, or how much are they not loving us because they're not you know they're not following the particular plan that maybe we had in our minds for them, you know, for them.
Well,
But
so let me say,
yeah.
so when Dex got out, she thought I was crazy, but when he got out and came to live with me,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing like so good for like 2 weeks.
Hold on just a second. Let's take it back. He had been in prison. I feel like because some people might get like confused on
Okay.
like
So
where
he
we're
had
at.
been-
Dex is your son who'd been in prison.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he got out, and then he came to stay with me, and he was clean, you know. So I'm, you know, all supportive, and he stayed with me, and, you know, I babied him. I mean, I fixed his food, I washed his clothes, I did everything for him. I was just so happy he was, you know, home and spending time with me. Then he got a job, and, you know, had a guy come start picking him up, and then it went from us spending time together. He'd come home to, you know, him coming in late, and then him wanting to use my mother's car. And then it started. And then I was just like, I was telling Hope, I was like, Dex is just doing so good. I'm so proud of him. And then all of a sudden, he goes off on left field. And I just couldn't believe it. Hope was like, Mama, he's an addict. I mean, he's, you know, and I couldn't believe it because he had been doing so good, and we had been having a lot of good times together in the afternoon. And I didn't understand, how do you go from being good to jumping off the rail again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she started, you know, trying to explain it to me again. But
She didn't understand, but what you were in very much denial because she believed that Dex was not an addict when he came home from prison for drug charges. But that's how we manipulate people, right? I don't have that problem. That I just got caught. Like
yeah.
Like
it wasn't me.
It was me.
Me.
Dex made me believe
And
everything.
he was very good at manipulating Mama. And even when I visited, he had already been dabbing into stuff, which, I mean, of course, I didn't go to Mama and tell because I'm the sister and I don't tattletale. but I had already knew he was like, you know, smoking pot and taking
I found it, my
Adderall,
yeah,
which I already know is like going to send him on. He's going back to prison within a few months. Like, it's over. But you know,
anyway, with all that being said, everything went left. And he did end up getting in a little trouble, and he's back in prison now. So, I mean, he went somewhere else and then got in trouble, and not here in Alabama, but, you know, then ended up back in West Virginia in prison.
Did he ever go to like a recovery or treatment center?
No.
Or was it just,
I mean, like he would do
just
a
got
short term just to make it look good on him, and
he has.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
now, he has done all this. Like in the past, he would when he was younger, he would go to all of that. Yes, he did that. But as an adult, no. Besides doing, short, like
detox.
Yes.
So
like
he
30 days.
Okay, 30 days.
To get himself, he knew what he had to do. I'm learning this to get out of trouble. So
so he would do what to like 30 days, 20. What was the longest like time that he spent in like a recovery or treatment?
When he was younger, he spent a few months in one.
Oh yeah, I would go visit him in Florida.
He stayed there
every Sunday. I would drive to Florida and see him. Me and my mom and dad. It was a couple months, but
like maybe 3, somewhere in there.
Maybe
2, 3,
something like that.
which is
I mean, it was
Really?
juvenile.
It was, he was still a minor.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was a minor when he did that.
He was a
So like
minor.
because 3 months, from what I understand, is like the shortest like
Yeah,
span
well,
of
as an
time.
adult, he's never done that.
Yeah.
Like, 20 to 30
Yeah.
days just to make himself look better or to get out of a charge or something.
So,
I don't know.
so he just had a kind of like a just been in a cycle for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, we'll just hope that he.
Yeah, I'll never give up on him. I pray for him
Yeah.
all the time, and I'll never give up on him until he's buried under. I mean, I'll never give up. I keep praying for him every day.
Yeah. So what
So,
was the hardest part for you with Hope in her situation? Outside, you mentioned the kids, but like
well,
watching her go
when she
through
was
that.
in the foundry, well, knowing that, I mean, she's a great mama, and just knowing that she had to, she was separated from her children, and then I told her when we was walking the other day, and I'll get back to that question, but I told her the other day when I was here, like we were walking, she's much stronger than me. I feel like with that, I don't feel like if I had to go through that and stay away from my children, I just don't feel like I could have done as well as her, because she's done really good. All her steps, reading her Bible, doing her praises, and staying where she needs to be to get her children back and to have a life. God has truly blessed her and Eric and this family and their children, and I am so happy for her. But the hardest thing for me, I guess, because she was my little perfect child. I mean, really, she never got in no trouble. She was always like the perfect angel. Like she was just always so good. And yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, always involved in, just like Dex and Dylan, my other son. I mean, we always went to church like I was raised. We always, did everything together. They was very involved in sports and everything. So I guess just the separation, knowing that the hurt she was feeling in her heart with not being with her children, and then that really hurts a mother and a grandparent,
Yes.
and to see that struggle. But and then to find out things that maybe I could have done better to help her that I didn't even realize it was going on.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Made me cry.
Well, that's good. Well, you're in a safe space here to do that.
You can't go back and look at things that you could have done differently, because I mean, I definitely could have done some things differently. And if I stayed in that space, I wouldn't be able to be in the space I am now, because that space is harmful for anyone mentally. It's that self-sabotage that will bring you straight back down. Yeah. And if I stayed in that, I would go back to those behaviors, because I wouldn't be able to take it. It would just be too much heaviness.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when I would leave the foundry, like when I'd come up and visit, it was hard on me. But I always put on the, happy face. But it was hard on me. I would just, do like my mama. I'd always most of the time take her with me, Granny, her grandmother. She passed away in October. So
Yes,
she
I'm
was
sorry for your loss.
thank you. She was our rock. She was our prayer warrior, and she always never gave, well, none of us ever gave up on hope, but I would always call her and we'd always pray for hope. So she got me through a lot, to be honest, because
Yeah.
she was always positive and, knowing that hope was going to pull through it and everything's going to be okay. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And she'll be back with her children and, you know,
Yeah.
so that helped me.
Absolutely. Having a praying mother and a praying grandmother is nothing like
Yes,
it.
yes.
It is nothing like
And
it. Yeah.
my church was very, my class, we're very intimate about all of that. We stay very, it's very private what we pray about and everything in our class. So I had, prayer warriors there also. So that was good.
Yes, good. Well, I'm glad you had a good support system
Yes.
as well, because it's needed. It's not just needed for the person who is actively in addiction or the person who has decided to go into a recovery spot, to get the help that they need, but it's for the family to have a community too, because there are families that are experiencing somebody within the family dealing with addiction, and a lot of times it's a silent thing that people are dealing with, and it's like it I think if we take away the stigma of it, to try to help people to understand a little bit more about, like, is not about what you could have done or what could have done better, or if I would have done this, maybe they wouldn't have wound up in this spot or anything like that, because we all have to come to a place where we make choices ourselves. And no matter what happened to, like, because there is an element of something happened, like something happened within my life where I felt out of control or whatever that led down to a path of addiction in the first place. But when we come to a point of where we have to deal with that. I have to deal with whatever it was that happened. And that's on the individual. Nobody can make anybody do anything really. We have to make a decision to do it. And once that decision is made, like with Hope made a decision to,
Yeah,
like,
I'm
that,
so glad that you made the right
yeah,
decision after, making wrong ones.
yeah, like I can't continue in this pattern and get different results. So I gotta bust up this pattern and do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so and like she was saying earlier, like, yes, I think everybody in the family, it's beneficial for us to do, like, how am I contributing to the problem? Like, am I doing anything that's enabling you?
Yeah.
Like, if
Well,
I'm buying.
I did that with Dex. Him and me and his father, we enabled him all the time, not meaning to. We
Right.
just kept giving and helping and getting him out of trouble and thinking we were doing the right thing. But honestly, now that we look back, we made some bad choices with that and with other things, but we
Yeah.
can't go back there. We just have to focus on what we can do now in
Now.
the present
Right.
to help our children.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. Like, I've heard it said this way, like, a parent's worst nightmare is that their child will die.
Yeah.
And that when you have that and you couple, addiction is you're living on the edge. Like, because anything could happen when you're
Yeah.
living with a substance use disorder. So I can imagine why you made the decisions that you did, to I'm thinking I'm helping. Well, if you just if we buy you this and you just do it here, somehow we think that's just
I ain't never done that now.
I'm keeping you safe. Now some people have.
Well, some people have.
Yes. Some people have because they think that
I would never contribute to that side.
Yeah.
But now,
or like well, if we just
I was naive in knowing that when I told you when he came back that he was using in my house.
I think a lot of that had to do with you wanted Dex back, the little boy that you lost when he was 15 who went away. And so he was out of prison and you wanted that version of that son back. And for a week he was was it 2 weeks? For 2 weeks, he was able to give mama that. I mean, because it was like he was a child too, back at home with his mom.
He still acts like that.
Right, he does. So it was like you were able to take care of him. It was like getting back lost time.
Mm-hmm.
If I get to do this. But, for how old was Dex then? 30 something? How old was he? 35, 36?
So that's been 3 years ago, and he's fixing to turn, how old are you, 35? He's fixing to be 38.
So for a 36-year-old male who's just got out of prison back at his mama's house, I told mom, this is what I told mama the other day, because she always thinks, well, what? I said, look, it would not have mattered what you would have done when he went back to your house when he got out. He was still probably going to end up using. Let's just put it that. I was like, there's no way, because he was a 36-year-old male who was institutionalized since he's been 15, back at his mama's house, and had not that she wasn't support, but did not have the support he needed to prosper in that environment. You can't take someone, put them at their mama's house, go to work every day, come home, and don't touch drugs, okay?
Yeah, like it's more to it.
You've been doing it for like your whole life. I mean,
yeah. And unfortunately, in some of the, like, I don't know where he, like I think you said he was out of state in West Virginia. So like I don't know how what that's where his children are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like how the prison system is. A lot of times, like I know, like the jail and prison are different things. But
he said he would rather be in prison than jail. It's much better.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people say that, because the opportunities are a little different from what I understand. But the person has to do the brunt of the work to make sure they get the services.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you don't have whatever going on to where you're motivated to get the services, you might not get them. And so ideally, you think people are being maybe reformed or having, talking to somebody, but that may not be going on. And so without dealing with whatever the underlying issue is, because the substance was never the issue in the first place, it was something underneath that. And without dealing with that, you're going to get that repeated cycle.
I'm getting what you're saying now. Something was triggering him.
Yeah.
And getting him, his brain and everything, to want to do things that caused him to use or whatever.
Yeah, it's a way of escape.
We're just looking.
Yeah, it's an escape. You're just looking to, and a lot of times it's thoughts. It's false beliefs. It's a false belief about. It may be a false belief about himself that's running. Sometimes people develop where they don't think they're good enough. I'll never be able to.
He really wants to be. He could really do anything in the world because he's very intelligent and very smart and he's good looking and he could do anything in the world if he would just give his heart back to God once he did as a child. He could get back there because his personality is, everybody loves him. He has the best personality. And he can get back there, and I won't ever give up on him. Just like I didn't give up on her, and she's doing awesome.
Yeah, doing amazing. Yeah, so
But
like
you have
you
to put
keep,
in the work.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's
right.
took her going on 4 years, right? And it's really just passed by because I couldn't even believe that it's like been that long, you
That
know?
long, yeah. It does go by fast. I think when you're, you
But
see, because I'm like,
I will
man, it's been a
say,
while.
I personally, I think the Foundry's awesome. Y'all did great with my daughter. I recommend it to anybody that has any addictions or troubles that to come to the Foundry. Um, I I mean, I know she had to put in the work to get where she's at, but it was you ladies that stood by her and didn't give up on her and that could actually understand what she was going through more so than me because I don't understand. You see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
really appreciate the ladies that, have turned their lives around and are they're helping other women to be stronger and to, be the bosses in the world that we need to be because
yeah,
um that's what she is now and I'm so thankful.
yes, yes, that's beautiful. I love it. I love it. So at least like you get, you've gotten in hope, more hope, like
Yes.
because there's more that that Dex can, he's got breath in his body. So he could
Amen.
at any time it can turn around.
Yes.
And I'm glad to
And
hear you say that you won't
yes.
give up on him. Yeah.
No, I won't. And also, they've taught me this. Like I'm a boss at my job. So I'm always trying to help others that come in and I read their, application and they've had drug charges or maybe if I start in a conversation with them, I just start talking to them and they let me know. I said, well, you need to make sure you write that down. You know what I mean? So if I do get to hire you, and then I have actually hired two girls that had charges and drug charges, and they are doing awesome today
Oh,
and really getting their children back, kind of like, what Hope went through.
yeah.
And I just always try, I think about what, I want someone to be able to help my children, to give them another chance. And I always now I have put that into my thoughts and process of not just saying, oh, they're a dope head or you know what I mean, or an
Yeah.
addict. I don't want to fool with that. So now I try to be
Pay it
more
forward.
patient and look at the big picture and they're doing great and they still work for me and I just love them to death and they're doing awesome
Yeah.
and I can't say enough good about them. So
Yeah.
and
And
I
that's
also tell the
amazing.
judges that, so that really helped.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like thank you for saying that because I think that can help other people who may be in a position to where they can extend uh job offers to people
Yes.
who may have struggled with addiction in the past because like one of the things
Yeah.
that um I'm a firm believer and I don't adopt the philosophy that once an addict always an addict. because I feel like you have to be an active addiction to be an addict, just based on the definition that I've read, like of what addiction actually is. And so like once you're out of that and into I'm of the belief that you have to say who you are. And if you're not actively, if you're not using a substance, you're not an addict. So reinforcing the truth about yourself to yourself helps others to see that was too.
Recovering from things, and they still had like to go in, like call a number and go in and do a drug test or whatever. And but that's soon to be gone. And so I'm all for giving men and women chances that has participated in addiction. That people need to love and care. That's somebody's child, that's somebody's daughter, it's somebody's son, and that somebody was mine. So
and that I really appreciate the support, because it is needed across the board. And that's why I like Al-Anon as well, because it helps the families. It really does help the family to deal with, to learn and to deal with the person that's experiencing experiencing, and to show you how to if you have been in a position of enabling, how to curb that.
I've curbed it. I don't enable anymore. Like, I'm good. No more enabling.
It's like we are far removed from that.
It took 20 years, but
but you did it.
But I did it.
She's pretty good about it now. I say that, but
I mean, I am. I don't send Dex money. I mean, I give money to his children and help them. But I told him that's the only money that will be spent is to his children when they need something, or because I don't mind doing that, and I wouldn't mind doing that with Hope's children. I mean, but you know what I'm saying? That I don't. I've stopped sending him money, and not even $5. I don't send it. Like, I'm done.
You got to figure.
I mean, he'll tell you, Mama's done. She won't send no money, but I do pray for him.
Well, that's better for him than the $5 he's going to try to gamble.
Absolutely. That's his, mine, and everybody's first line of defense if we choose to see it that way. Like it's one of my favorite scriptures, or I won't say favorite because all of them are my favorite. But one of the scriptures that changed the trajectory of my life was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And it's trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your paths. So I'm like, it's instructional. And then he tells you what the outcome is going to be if you follow the instructions. And it's like 3 of them, like it's not even a laundry list of instructions. But it's trust him. I got to trust him first. I got to not lean on what I believe I know, is best, and acknowledge him, talk to him about everything. And then he's going to tell me what to do. And once I started living my life in that order, it completely turned around. And so I choose now to not live any other way. I'm going to pray first and then move. I'm not going to lean on what my understanding of stuff is. I'm going to get his perspective, because he can see farther than I can see. He knows more than I'll ever know. And he knows more about me than I know. So I
do have a question. Why is it, if you're brought up in, in a Christian home like mine were, and like myself, I was. So, and the difference between right and wrong, okay? But it leads you off to that path. But then when you get in jail or prison or wherever you land, and you start believing in this other God, like he was doing that, and he was blaming God and saying, God don't love me. I mean, Hope went through it one time that, that he's still in it. Like when he came to my house and I was cleaning, I found all these books in the drawer, because I let it be his room, but I kind of snooped a little. But I found all of that, all them devil witchcraft stuff. And he said, I mean, he's in there reading it and watching videos every night, and it says that, I mean, what I would say of the devil. But because he said God didn't, if God wanted him, let's see, how did he say it? God did, if God didn't save me from this, he don't love me. This is who loves me. This is who I worship now. So do you know what I'm talking about?
It's just like church.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, like I can speak from my experience with, like, I grew up going to church. I believe, like, back when I was born in the 70s, I think they didn't really take you outside until you were like 6 weeks old or something. But I'm sure I was at church whenever I was able to go outside. But like the way that I explain it when I'm telling people about my experience with connecting with Christ and building a relationship with him was that I learned how to go to church. I didn't have a relationship with Christ though until I was in my, I think, 30s. Like when I was about to turn 30 is when my relationship started to develop with him. And so because of, I learned how to do something, but without the connection to it, it does leave you searching, in a way. And too, because like the traumatic experiences that I experienced in life too, I just didn't, it wasn't that I didn't believe, but I didn't seek him either, if that makes sense. So I had a knowledge that God existed, I had a knowledge that Jesus existed, but it wasn't something that I just sought out. And so that left me living like not really, I wasn't really searching anywhere. But I know for some people, when they have traumatic experiences or they go through things, or what they believe about God, because like I was on that end where he is, well, I thought God would just, if he wanted me to do something, that he would just make me do it. But that's not how he operates. Like we have to be willing participants, because he's a gentleman. He doesn't force himself on us. So it's like I had to get to a place in life where I was just honestly, life was just bad. It was just bad for me. And I knew that, I'm like, I remember saying, just one day, Lord, it's either going to be me and you or nothing. Like, either I'm going to go all in with you or I'm not doing anything. But I had enough understanding and knowledge of what I grew up in to know that he had a better way for me. But I just needed to ask him how to get to it, because I didn't know. I wasn't sure how to get to it. Wow. And I know that a lot of people do search, they'll search, but until they get that understanding that whatever idea they have of God is probably not a proper view. And it sounds like what he's thinking is, well, why isn't he just saving me from this? Like, why would he just not, like, but when ideally he wants him to just come, he's like, I'm here, I'm waiting on you, but you got to come to me. I can't, I can't force
Well,
you.
I know that God has a purpose for Dex because he's like OD'd. I know 7 or 8 times, like died,
Yeah.
and they had to bring him back. So, like Hope
Yeah.
said, he should have already been dead. But there's a reason God keeps letting him come back to us.
Yeah. And I would say, for you guys, from the standpoint, just pray for the eyes of his understanding to be opened.
Yeah.
And for anything that's trying to block or hinder him from seeing God for who he really is, that be removed.
Right.
Because the Holy Spirit is going to have to draw him, and I would definitely say he's still here because he's got something for him to do. He's just got to get to a place of where he can, no, it's not, he does love you. He loves you, and he's for you, but he needs something from you. He needs you to.
He does need the Lord. He needs someone that's stronger because Dex said that when he calls me and we talk, he'll say, Mama, I just need to Boo, that's his little brother, to get me a good job with him, and then I won't mess up and I'll do good because I'll be around him or, good people, and I won't be using or nothing. But I don't think that's true.
He still has that distorted, he still has that delusional, distorted thinking that if I can only, get in this location and have this job, which is so untrue. You can have everything and you can still if you don't deal with those root issues, you're going to fall, you're going to use. It does not matter. And so until he's able to change his thinking in those perspectives, he's still going to follow those paths. Doesn't matter what state he's in, what job he has, if he gets to see his kids, if he doesn't get to see his kids, because all of those things, they can be they're influential, I guess, in your lives, but at the end of the day, that's not your decision maker, or whether or not you use.
Right.
Yeah. It still comes down to him dealing with that, like that root, and making the decision that he wants to do different.
Right.
Has he said anything about like counseling while he's in there, or does he talk about that much?
He's went through some counseling. He's went through the parenting classes, just to help him with his children when he gets out. Not that he had to do it because, he loves his children. Nothing was ever went bad there besides him not showing up and being a father. You know what I mean? Yeah. But did I say that right?
You did. Okay. But basically that's being a parent.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying. No, he loves his kids.
He hasn't harmed. Yeah, there's no.
He has not. He has not harmed.
He hasn't. Yeah, like outside of being absent.
No. He's just been absent, but he has not done anything to harm them besides, I guess, mentally.
Well, the reality is he has done things to harm them.
Well, yeah, with their mother.
I mean, he has been very harmful.
Yes, to their mother.
I'm just saying that because I've had my own actions that I can say that that was harmful.
Yeah, because being absent is can be harmful.
Being absent is harmful because then you have abandonment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
but other than that, no. He has not had any counseling, continuing education for it, or anything else that he needs, because honestly, Hope can tell you, he don't think he needs it. He thinks he can just get out and, everything's going to be good like her life. But he has to work the program like she's done to be able to have this wonderful life that she has now. I mean, God just didn't throw it in her hand. He made her go through the steps year after year after year, now the 4th year, and it's working, that he would love for that to happen.
I think he knows. I mean, he has an understanding. I just think that he doesn't want to put in what it's going to take to get. He wants,
he just wants it to happen.
He wants to get out and he wants to have his children and have a job and do this and do that. And those are great things, but that's not realistically thinking. I mean, it takes time. And like I think I said, it's dangerous to get everything back at once.
Right.
Because there's a process that happens and that God takes you through. And just from my experience, it's that through the past 4 years, it's been a process with each year, and sometimes a lot happening in a couple of months, and that it's the process of me having to go through different stages of my life, and then and still going to be a process. It's not for everyone, but it's trusting God and having that faith to walk through it and understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. That's why I stopped years ago trying to keep up with my sobriety time. When I first started getting sober and I attended 12-step meetings, I would always be like, it's 30 days, I got 60 days, I got, which is good. That's good. You should congratulate yourself. You should be proud of yourself. But if you're obsessing over trying to get to a 6-month mark or a year mark, you're destined to fail or relapse. I mean, not fail, but relapse, because you're just trying to get, it's like that end destination. There's no end destination. There's no end destination. That's what I guess I learned, is that it's, I'm not going to put an end mark, because there is no end mark. This is my life now. It's my recovery.
Yeah, I had to do that with my relationship with Christ. Like, because I wanted, because I would just felt like I was such a terrible person, I'm just this terrible person who is all screwed up and hadn't got anything but right in life. And when it came down to it, I'm like, okay, I've accepted you, I've accepted you, Jesus. Now I should be great, right? Like everything should work out.
Yeah.
I should know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And when stuff would go wrong, I'd be like, well, now what? I didn't know
Where you
respond to that. Yeah, like what's happening? But I had to realize that no, I'm going to be in a process of learning and growing for the rest of my life. I didn't know everything then. I don't know everything now. So I'm going to continue to learn and to grow. And being a follower of Christ, like that requires something of me. Like it requires me to read my Bible. It requires me to follow the instructions. Like if I want the end result, I gotta follow the instructions. And so like that to me, when I grasp that this is a lifelong journey, then I got okay. Then I became content, with that, and was more able to.
Everybody has to have a thankful heart and have gratitude towards each day. That's the way I feel, and just like get up and just be happy and be thankful and try to be a blessing. This is what I do. I just try to be a blessing. When I manage assisted living, so I've been doing this for 19 years. So Hope she grew up. All my children grew up there. So it's like you have to have passion and be thankful and have the gratitude, and you have to have patience when all of this to be able to do that. And actually you're turning back to deal with children, because
Yeah.
elderly become children. And I've have had some that was recovering addicts
Mm-hmm.
to actually live with me. So I've had, to
Yeah.
deal with watching medication, watching,
Yeah.
drinking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You still have to be
To,
cautious and not let that happen. I mean, be careful because you
yeah.
don't know and you're learning. So when I found out, I handle and I look at the situation completely different than I did
Mm-hmm.
prior to me not knowing what was going on with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a
Understanding.
good testament. Yeah, understanding, because like
Yes.
I can have empathy, right? Like without even if I have never dealt with something personally, I can have empathy for who has, and I can
Right.
learn about like what might you be going through, like what does
Mhm.
happen in the brain when a person is dealing with addiction, because it's a something going on, something has been rewired.
Or
um
abuse or any of that. I've had to
yeah,
deal with all of that. Not myself
yeah,
personally, but at my job.
yeah, like in it there's so many things that can cause us to make the decisions that we're making. And
Mm-hmm.
so ideally we don't just as human beings one to another just look at behavior and then judge another
Right.
Yeah.
person. It's like
I mean, I say if you're a
having a
child of God, you
conversation.
don't. A lot of
Yeah,
people, they
right,
do
you
judge
do.
and they do look at people
Yeah,
differently. And I
because
mean,
of
I've
it.
been
Yeah.
one the first to say before I had to deal with it with my own, I kind of was like, But now that I've
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
to deal with it,
With
I'm like,
yeah.
it
Something's going
makes me,
on.
yes,
Yeah.
it makes me like really sit back and um, think about, their situation, and I don't know what they went through, and just try to have more patience and, you know,
Yeah.
with the situation. And because, you never know what someone else is going through. So I just
Mm-mm, you
always
really
try
don't.
to, you know, be
Mm-hmm.
nice to people. It's what my mama always,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah.
taught me. You just need to be nice to people. You never know what they're going through. And with me being going through what I've went through,
Yeah.
I see that more, so that
Mm-hmm.
I need to not judge other people that's used, or,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand, was something happened to them to have them to act out, and you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
to do what they did. They're lacking something, or they needed something,
Mm-hmm.
or something happened in
Yeah.
their life, that you know what I mean,
Yeah.
that I didn't
Absolutely.
understand myself. So I
Yes.
try to understand more, even today, even with hope.
Yeah.
She still tries to
Yeah.
understand me.
Yes. I mean, when I see she's getting ill, I just kind of go off to my, you know, well, not that she's getting ill, but like I just know that she has to have her space.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
respect that. But I better get a phone call every morning, or I'm gonna be upset. We talk every morning. I'm like, why ain't you call me? But with that being said, we have
Yeah.
a great relationship. I'm so thankful for it. And I want it to continue to grow. I want to continue to understand, what goes on with her, through this process, this road that she's on. I want her to continue growing. I do have, I do think she's going to own her own business one day. She's going to be able to help people. She's going to be a counselor. She's going to school for it now. And all that's going to happen.
She's going to be my PR person.
And I'm going to be your marketing person, because this is going to happen.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
God, He's on our side, and this is going to happen.
Amen.
And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. I 100% agree.
And dreams do come true. I mean,
that's right.
She's
living proof. Yeah.
Of that.
Yes.
Because I would have never got out of that hole she was in. I'd have just sunk.
Yeah, but and that, like, faith, that like her life and her testimony is a faith builder to other people.
Yes.
You know, the way that I love how she has boldly shared.
I mean, I have learned so much by reading her blog and everything that I didn't even know. And I was like, my son would call me and he'd say, "Mama, did you read Hope's blog today?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I would say,
but it helps you to understand.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I'm not changing it, so don't ask.
I mean,
but it helps them to see, understand. I think it helps you to understand her a little better too.
Well, why she went through the things that she did, and I think what she's doing is great, because it's able. I mean, it's not able. It's she's going to be able to help so many people. By her testimony and her sharing what she went through, because and I do know this, a lot of girls and even guys are scared to actually speak the truth and share their feelings and what actually went on with them to make them make bad choices and do the things that they did, because maybe if they'd have had you then, a counselor, I'm just saying,
it's true,
to talk to and to open up to, that they things might have not have happened the way they did. You see what I'm saying? But I just think being a counselor, and she's going to be one, just like you. I think that's awesome.
She already is one, but
that's it. Just like I just think that's awesome, and that y'all have that ability to help people and to read people, because I think that's a God-given talent, and I thank you.
Thank you. It's a blessing to me to get to be able to just share life with people, you know, and get them to, and help them to move wherever they say they want to, you know, wherever they say they want to go to. But let's figure out how to get you there. But we first got to deal with the stuff that you maybe hadn't dealt with.
Right.
Because I understand just from my own personal experience. I was going nowhere, and I was going nowhere fast. And it took me having to be honest with myself before I could even get honest with another human being. And so with that being the case, I'm like, that's how I try to help people. It's like, hey, let's get real about you. What happened? You know, like what happened in your life that you've been running from something, and it's been chasing you, and it's not tired, but you are. You know?
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like you're extremely tired, and you're only gonna get more exhausted trying to continue to run from it. So let's just stop, face it, deal with it. It's a memory. It's not happening right now, you know, but because it's this memory, we got to deal with the memory. And once we can get some resolve, then we move past it, and then we can live a better life. And so like, that's the place where I love, where I get to be involved in somebody's journey in that way, that God has allowed me to be in a space to do that.
Yeah, you just can't put a Band-Aid over it and expect it to heal. You got to heal within, and you got to have God's help and people like you and Hope and people that's went through that.
I think I do. I think
them
healing
experiences to be able to help other people.
You can heal from it, but I do think that healing is also a process as well. What I have noticed is with my writing and with my blog of what I write about that happened years ago, some of it, some of it's been 5-6 years ago, is that it can be heavy, even though I feel like I've forgiven it or healed from it. It still can be extremely heavy. And so what I've learned is I can forgive, but it doesn't mean that I can forget about it, but able to process that that's not happening today, and then let God work that out and work through me, if that makes sense. Because I think people, even like a death in the family occurs, and you feel like you've healed. Okay, I've healed, whatever, if that's even a thing,
Right.
And then you're grieving, a year later out of something that you thought that you've forgiven or you healed, or and then you feel bad. Like, I know I would be like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way? I should not. But it's okay. It's just letting yourself feel the things you need to feel, but not staying there. Because I've noticed that staying in those places is what caused me to escape and to use. So just letting it move on. Let me get upset if I need to get upset. And then letting it just flow through.
Yeah. Because that's you dealing with it.
I was really worried when my mom passed that it might push her, because she was so close to my mother. And that really bothered me. I just kept telling her, Granny was so proud of her, and, to keep staying strong and to do the right thing and make the right choices that she had been doing, because I don't know. It'd be hard for me to go through that again. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
Because I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah, it's hard watching someone that you love to help you.
So it's just me. So
yeah, it's hard watching somebody that you love suffer. Because like when somebody's in active addiction, they are suffering, and that is a difficult thing to watch. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like there's nothing you can do, nothing you can do about it. And until they make a decision that I need to stop, or they are stopped because death has occurred. And I think that's a hard place for people to accept, but it is something that we have to learn to accept. If we have people in our lives that are in active addiction, we have to accept the fact that they may not want to stop what they're doing. And at that point, we have to decide how we're going to move with them or live with them. And I know sometimes it's difficult for people. They take more of a hands-off approach. Oh, I'm just not going to talk to them. I'm not going to, because it's easier for them to now kind of act like they've died rather than wait for them to, if that makes sense. So it's almost like they've prepared themselves before, beforehand. And that's
so when my mom passed, I asked Hope to speak at my mom's funeral, and she did. And I knew my mama would be so proud of her. and she did so great. And she said things, speaking, I mean, that God saved her, or she wouldn't even, I don't know how you worded it, but be here to even stand there, to even talk about Granny, but or what she'd went through. But I just knew in my heart that my mama would want her to speak, because she was so proud of her and her, doing so well and coming out of that. And that made me happy that she was there and could speak and she done so great. So that blessed me too.
And there to be a support for you.
Yeah. And I watch it. I mean, it was taped, so I get to go back and see I have watched it twice, the funeral, which people tell me that's not good, but sometimes that's just healing for me.
Yeah, like
whatever you need to do.
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, because it's different for everyone.
Everybody,
so if that feel close and okay, then that's she did Granny's hair and makeup, and I was like, no way, Jose, don't even expect that from me. It's not happening. Don't ask me. Like, I can't.
She's not a caregiver, but I am.
It was like, I can speak, but I can't do that.
Don't expect that.
My mom lived in assisted living with me. In my assisted living for 3 years. But prior to that, she worked, she retired, but she worked at a nursing home, and she was a supervisor for 23 years. But during that time, she worked for me as my activities director for 10 years.
Oh, cool.
So we were very, very close all my life.
Yeah.
And then she came to live with me there, and that was just the best 3 years, and we went to the beach still every year, and it was just always good with her.
Yeah.
We actually even come when Hope was at the Foundry. We, me and you and Mama brought her to see her children here.
Oh, cool!
So Granny was always a part of Hope's life.
Yes, and she sounds like a wonderful lady. Like, she was just a bright light.
She was a prayer warrior, like y'all's as princess warriors.
Yes.
Warrior princesses.
Yeah, that's
warrior princesses. Yeah,
that's what Mama's prayer warrior. Yeah,
amazing. Well, I'm glad that you got to spend that time with her, and that Hope was in a place to where she could help help you through the process of grieving as well. And it's too, like she was saying, like, however you need to do, like however you need to process it, do it. And whenever the feelings hit you, like, because they come out of nowhere a lot of the times, seemingly. And what I've learned is just like around the I think I was sharing with Hope, was it last week or maybe last week, that like I was in a process of grieving for 22 years and didn't realize it, because I just didn't connect the what I would experience for some months after, like, my grandmother, who raised me for a good bit, passed away March the 14th of 1994. And from 1994 to 2016, I didn't thrive, like, really. I would have some high points here and there in life, but it just seemed like March to August that life would just not be good. And I would say to people sometimes, like, I just feel like I'm in this vicious cycle, around these times, and I just don't know what it is, why I go through this period of time. Well, what it was I would be grieving. I was grieving and didn't know it, because literally when she passed away, a part of me passed away too. And it wasn't until I had been praying and asking the Lord to help me to be more present in the moment, because I felt like I had missed a lot of life because I was either more concerned about what happened yesterday or worrying about tomorrow, and was never present in the day. When he brought that to my attention, that you've been in this is the cycle that you've been in, and it's been attached to her death. And I thought, wow, like it's been 22 years. And that's why I've been so, after that, after learning that, every time I know March the 14th is coming every year, every year that I'm alive, there's gonna, March the 14th is coming. So what I learned to do in those moments were to prepare myself for it. Like, I know that day is coming, so I choose to honor her life and think and remember the good times and the legacy that she left and the things that she taught me, and all of that, and honor and be grateful for the time that I did have with her, versus just going into the fact that she's not here. So that has helped me tremendously. And however I need to do, if I have to cry, I have to cry. If I have to, and to that, like going through that process in 2016, where he showed me that, prepared me for the great loss that me and my family would experience in 2021, where we lost 4 family members within the span of a month.
So you're talking about grief.
And one of those was my brother. So it just was 2021 was tough. It was hard for us, but I was grateful for what he showed me in 2016, because that has helped me to get through that. And continues to help me to get through it. So yeah.
Well, I hope you have an awesome Mother's Day.
Thank you. You too. I hope you do as well.
You know that she has granddaughters. They're twins.
Yes, twin granddaughters.
She's got 2 girls.
Well,
two granddaughters. But yeah, 2.
Yes.
Isn't that something? The sassy little girls.
Yes, they are, and that is exactly what they are. Sassy little girls.
Yeah,
but we love them.
Girls. Yes.
They keep us on our toes for sure.
Yes. Let's see. I have 6, and I have 1, 2. I have 3 boys and 3 girls.
Okay, so we got an even number going.
Yes, 2 twins. I mean, 1 set of twins.
Yeah.
And then all of them are like 10, 11 almost, and then one is 18 months old, my little.
Oh my goodness.
That was named after my mother.
Oh, so sweet. Yes, 18 months. Oh my goodness. Yes, well, yes, you're busy too. Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. I really
enjoyed this, and thank you. I've picked up off of things that you've said today that will help me too, and I appreciate it.
You are welcome, and thank you for giving us the perspective from the family member side. We appreciate that. And I'll give Hope the name of the book that I mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And stay tuned. There will be more episodes to come.
Amen. D Hope coming your way.